Hi there, I'm Dr. Carrie Whitlock. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist with Healthy Young Minds. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about suicidal ideation. So I think this video is best broken down into two parts. First, we're going to talk about morbid ideations. Morbid ideations are where someone has thoughts, fleeting thoughts that come out of nowhere, usually in times of distress, that can look like, I wish I could go to sleep and never wake up again, or gosh, I wish I could just disappear. These thoughts usually are on the piggyback of something stressful that happens, something that the person doesn't have the skills to cope with. They don't know what to do with all of this emotion and don't know what to do about the problem. They feel like they're dead-ended, right? And so a lot of the times children, teens especially, will experience this, and it can be very scary for the family. It can be very scary for the teen themselves. When we have thoughts like this enter our mind, sometimes they're kind of followed up with a "what's wrong with me?" or "oh my gosh, am I going to kill myself?" And it can be very confusing and very scary. The reality of these thoughts is we have no control over them. They're really information. They're information about what's going on in that person's life. They're information that they're overloaded, that their plate's too full, and that they don't have proper coping skills to handle the distress that's taking place in their current situation. So one of the things that we can do is normalize that and say, hey, these are just thoughts. These are fleeting thoughts. You're not thinking about hurting yourself. You're not thinking about killing yourself. You're just having thoughts of wanting to get out of the situation. It's no different than when an adult goes and has a drink when they're stressed out. It's a way of trying to make the pain stop. I just don't know what to do, and I don't want to feel this. So that's one thing. That's morbid ideations. And so normalizing and getting kids help immediately when they have these things can really help. It can help teach them that you don't have control over these thoughts, and thoughts can't control you. The one thing you have control over this world is your behavior, how you interact with it. So what you do with those thoughts, you have all the control in the world. Are they upsetting? Of course they are. Do you need to do anything with them? Definitely not. Now, where this gets a little scarier and where we need to take even further intervention, we should be taking intervention regardless. If a child has these thoughts, we don't take chances, right? We contact a professional and we get them help immediately, even if it's just to normalize and to kind of quell those fears. But when we get scared, when we get more nervous, and when we need to take more immediate action, and I mean like calling 911 or taking them directly to the ER, is when those morbid thoughts start having a plan, an intent, or means. And what I mean by that is if your child or you are having thoughts of, I want to die. I want to turn my car into traffic as I'm going down the street. I'm looking at that pill bottle a little too long. I'm thinking about ways of killing myself. I had thoughts when I was in the bathtub of just slicing my wrists. Things like that, when it gets more serious and it has more intention behind it, that is the same thing. It's the same place it's coming from. It's a lack of skills to cope with the distress. However, this is a step up from those morbid ideations. This is where we get really nervous because that person is looking for a way out. It's more than just I just want to make it stop for right now. It's an I can't do this. I don't know what to do with this, and I can't tolerate it. Right? Now, none of that's true. They can tolerate it. They have been tolerating it. We can teach them skills to cope. And in that moment, that impulsivity, that feeling of I can't do it, becomes overwhelming. And when you're young or you just don't have skills, the threat of acting on that is imminently larger, right? And so what we want to do is we definitely want to seek help immediately. I don't mess around with thoughts like that. I don't care if you think it's a cry for help. If it's a cry for help, then let's help, right? It doesn't matter if there's actually any intention behind it. We can't judge that. We can't guide that. What we do know that is if somebody is saying that they're having these thoughts, they're asking for us to do something. They're saying things feel too big for me and I need some assistance. So let's give them that. Without judgment, without saying, you're not going to do it. We don't know that. And who cares if they're not going to do it? They're asking for our help. Let's help, right? The other piece of this is, what do you do if they actually are trying? What do you do if your kid runs off with the pills into the bathroom? Well, first off, call 911 immediately. And if this is ongoing, if suicidal ideations are ongoing with your child, if suicidal threats are ongoing, take the means out of the house. Physically out of the house and lock them in the trunk of the car. Whether it's, anything that they could put around their neck, whether it's pills, whether it's knives, I don't care what it is, lock it in the trunk of the car. A lot of people will ask me, well, my kids can just get the keys. Well, first off, hide the keys, put them in a place where hopefully only you can get to them. Make it harder when those impulsive behaviors occur, when those thoughts occur, make it harder to act on it because often they're fleeting. Often people don't want to die. Nobody wants to die. Even people who complete suicide don't want to die. They want the pain to stop. And if we take away that immediate means, that thing that's there when they have that impulse, often it kind of wanes and goes away after they calm down a bit. It might come back next time they're upset, but usually it's only when those feelings are very intense, right? So it's really just a waiting game to get them past that distress and to get help into the home through calling an ambulance or taking them to the ER, right? The other thing is, the reason I say in the trunk of the car instead of like in a locked closet in the house is because let's say that child does get the keys and they go out. Well, when you're in a state of distress, the brain is looking for threats. The part of the brain that activates anxiety is also looking for threats. And so when you're already activated, if you go outside, there's a change in scenery and there's a change in temperature. And those two changes can sometimes activate the brain. That part that's looking for threat goes, okay, new situation, I'm feeling different things, I'm looking for the threat. And that can be just enough of a switch over to get that impulse and that direction they were headed to harming themselves to click off because something new is happening in the brain. And so I just always say, put it in the trunk of the car because it puts that extra layer of protection where your brain is going to kind of shift over into doing something different. And it might give you that extra time and that extra just environmental and weather change, that temperature change to get the kid to go, okay, let's rethink this, right? And it also gives you a bit of time to recognize that, somebody just left the house, I hear the door, and I'm going to go see what's going on, right? Things like that. It's just really an added layer. The biggest thing with all of this is just don't ever take it lightly. None of these things should be taken lightly. Like I said, doesn't matter if you believe it, they're asking for help. Always give help. When someone says, I'm in distress and I don't know what to do, our job is to always provide that.